Welcome, this is Market Matters. I'm Nadia Hassan, she's Charlotte Chong. It is Thursday evening, to one more day before the end of the week actually. And it's really funny. I feel a little bit of a dip. So the fact is, KLCI yesterday was really down. MIDF did put out a note saying that there was no such thing as a CNY rally. It was as rare as a unicorn. But today we did go up about 23.47 points. 1.44% though, that's actually not really much, but 1656 is the final number for today.
So investors actually came out for doing some shopping before the Chinese New Year, before a long weekend. Yeah. Top gainers were Nestle, PBB and Simdabi, while top losers were mostly rubber glove manufacturers. We saw Kosan Top Glove, Hartalega and Carex actually came down the share prices. And this is because the gain in ringgit hurts rubber glove manufacturers. Total volume was at 2.05 billion, worth about 2.08 billion ringgit. Now, recovered oil prices not just lifted ringgit as well, it lifted the share price in the entire stock market in the ASEAN.
Yeah, exactly. Region. So everybody in general was just feeling a little bit before the long weekend. I've been seeing the pictures, especially in China, of everybody making this huge migration. And MIDF, though, still doesn't think Malaysia's prospects are that great. Cuts the 2016 GDP to 4.4 from 5 because conditions are going to be a bit more challenging. It was a very milestone day today because the TPPA, controversial animal that it is, actually got signed by 12 countries in New Zealand. But I think it's not going to be the end of it. You're going to see a lot of lobbying. You're going to see a lot of protests.
A lot of negotiations will be ongoing among these 12 countries, of course. Now, ASEAN stocks, we saw a sea of green.
Green, yes.
Other than Nikkei 225, Nikkei 225 actually dropped 0.85%, Shanghai Composite up 1.53% before Chinese New Year.
Haruhiko Kuroda is still continuing to make headlines in Japan about unusual, I think bonds are flirting with negative yield. Okay, this is a funny story before I move on to what moved today. Jose Canseco, who's actually a Hall of Famer in the US, I don't know who he is, but I saw this news. He commented on the Japanese rate hike, called it dumb. He's a baseball player.
But why? Why dumb?
I have no idea. I think the man's up on drugs. But anyway, the fact is, no, he has been convicted for steroid use. But moving on to actually what moved today, we had quite a few more speculative counters, RGB, Jufutech, they all moved up. But we chose to talk about Maxis because of where the telcos have been in the news. The Maxis actually went up about 354 to 615. The volume's small at 122,000. But the reason, of course, was because they actually had a really good boost in 4Q earnings.
So what happened was government actually recalibrated budget 2016 last Thursday, and after that shares actually dropped 13.3% to 5.72 from 6.6.
You can actually see in the chart that we have in front, the cliff that it actually fell off. You can see it noticeably. It's quite amazing.
Now, service revenue actually lifted Maxis 4-quarter earnings, and despite price-focused competition, service revenue actually grew 3.2% to 2.16 billion for Maxis.
CEO Morten Lundell, who's known, of course, previously for the man who actually headed DG, actually said that 2015 was a winning year for Maxis. And, he says the network is modernized. It covers nearly 90% of the population, which means hopefully no more dropped calls. They say the 4G LTE has more than doubled to 71% of population coverage, and that is actually quite impressive. I think the rest of the people are also trying to kind of go up to meet. So yeah, it's interesting to see their full year. Exactly on the quarter it already went up quite considerably. Now here's the thing. Going forward, this spectrum, this issue of paying for spectrum, or at least a more expensive issue for spectrum, where is it going to hurt them in the long run?
Because so the risk is actually lying on, Malaysian telco companies, not just Maxis, Celcom as well. They stand to lose more or lose the most because they will have to pay more if you compare with other players because they have more large spectrum holdings in Malaysia.
Yeah, exactly. So it's going to be an interesting time for them. I'm really curious what Morten has to say about this, other than they'll keep competitive, because this market is competitive and you have to keep yourself on your toes or you differentiate yourself. Their Maxis One plan has seemed to have sort of gotten away with some of the mystique because the plans that people sometimes give are a bit bonkers. Maybe that's the way he's going to go. Let's see how he's going to push through this tough time. Just to wrap it up, of course, we are looking at Maxis because the stock actually went up about 3.54%, and the reason for that is because service revenue actually lifted its 4Q earnings. And although the price competition is tough, they say, it's been a good year for them. However, this issue of a more expensive spectrum, will it be the one that hurts them the most?